Well, we're happy to have Workout Help Out visiting the Rivard Report. This is our conference room. We're on East Houston Street in the emerging tech district downtown San Antonio in the historic Rand building. This was the original Wolf & Marks department store that opened up in, I think, 1911. Graham Weston bought the building several years ago and completely refurbished it. Frost Bank had been using it. Their tower's next door, and the new tower they're building is 2 blocks away, and this was back office space for them, but now it's filled with Geekdom is probably the best known tenant. Google Fiber is in here. A lot of successful tech startups like WP Engine and Jungle Disk, our neighbors. We were founded in 2012. I began the Rivard Report. My wife and I, Monica and I, began it as a 2-person blog. I had been the longtime editor of the San Antonio Express News. Had worked there from 1994 to 2011 when I retired. And I wanted to keep my voice in the community, and a blog was the way to do it as more and more people were starting to consume news on smartphones and tablets and move away from ink on paper. So what began as a really modest blog quickly grew into something bigger. Our audience grew. We started accepting advertising. We used that money from advertising and some philanthropic gifts that we received to hire people, full-time people, employed, salaried people. Well, we turned nonprofit in late 2015. That was a big move for us, and we grew from a staff of 4 at the time to we now have a full-time editorial staff of 11, 3 people on our business and development and membership side, and we're adding a couple of more reporters in the next coming months, or certainly by the end of the year. So we're growing robustly. Our audience is growing robustly. The community's support for us in both in terms of individual members, business members, foundation support, corporate support, advertising and marketing, all of it's growing very well. We found that we're a very good match for the city, and there's a great appetite out there for the kind of work we do. Well, I think that anybody that consumes media in this city knows we are very different. We are not like mainstream media. We don't do a lot of crime news. We don't do anything particularly sensational. You can't check your lottery numbers with us. We don't care about, vehicle pile-ups on the interstate. There's just a lot of, we don't cover high school football. There's a lot of things we don't do that a newspaper would do or a local television broadcast would do. We don't care at all about celebrity news. We just focus on covering the city the way we want to cover it, which is telling the stories of the people, the groups, the companies that make San Antonio what it is. This is a city where people really like to live and work and play. And we try to reflect in our news product that very city, not just, the crime headlines or a sensational story. So we're a very different kind of source for news than everyone else in the city. And our audience reflects that. Almost everyone that reads the Rivard Report is college educated, or we have a lot of students that read us that are in school. There are people who are civically engaged, people that vote, people that care about their neighborhoods, their schools, their churches, their neighborhood organizations, people that care about being homeowners, being part of the city, being civically active. That's our audience, and it's different than a mass media audience. Well, there are 115 nonprofit news media sites now in the United States that are part of the Institute for Nonprofit News in Washington, D.C. And many cities now have the equivalent of a Rivard Report, and many of those digital media sites were started by former newspaper or magazine journalists like myself who saw that mainstream media, particularly print newspapers in cities, were diminished, shrinking every year, and their reach was no longer what it was, their audience is no longer what it once was, and we're filling a gap, and that's happening everywhere. And more people now consume media based on what that specialization is, whether it's local news, whether it's international foreign news, whether it's professional sports. People no longer go to one place the way they used to go to a newspaper and look for a little bit of everything. People go to very specific places to get very specific kinds of news and information. So we think there's a real market for local news, for community news, for specializing in just that. We think people in this city want to stay connected and informed, and we think we're in the best position to serve their interests. The one thing I would say that if people want to, help guarantee our future prosperity and stability, we ask them to join as members. We're member supported, just like Texas Public Radio or KLRN, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Public Television. We depend upon our members for support. Yes, we sell some advertising and we derive revenue from foundations, but basically the foundation for what we do and how we pay our journalists and how we serve the community is based on our members, their belief in us and their willingness to invest in us on a sustaining annual basis. So I hope that people that come to your website and watch this video and who read the Rivard report but are not members will stop and think, yes, somebody needs to support that, and that somebody is me, and I'm going to go to the home page and click on the donate button today. And we'll say thank you in advance for all of you that do that.